Writing Ratface, a point-blank limited series on the process of writing a 50,000-word first draft. I am your host, Justin Bendell, and this is episode 6. It is week 6 of writing Ratface, and I continue to face the dread challenge of filling the middle part of the story in a meaningful way. The middle part of a story is notoriously difficult to keep from feeling like bloat, and I don't want to write a story where the middle part feels unnecessary. This is a struggle that is common. Writers will see and understand what I'm talking about when I talk about this middle section and the fear of bloat, the fear of saying something that is not significant or does not move the story forward. We don't want the story to fall into an eddy that just swirls and swirls, and we start to lose our readership, we start to lose track of our character's purpose. Of course, some of this is useful and necessary because life isn't perfect and sometimes our characters are going to struggle, but we don't want our readers to clock out, so to speak. The last thing a writer wants is for readers to be able to see the writer's balloon of ideas begin to deflate. I want my stories to be taut and powerful and necessary, every word and every page. This is why I prefer shorter works in general. There's less likelihood that the bloat moment is going to happen, or it's more likely that the writer has done a good job of editing carefully with a mind for concision and for cutting out the parts that cause a story to feel bloated or to feel overwrought. I want the heart and I want the core of the story, and I want to share that with the reader. I want the reader to walk away going, holy shit, what power. There's not a single page in that story that didn't matter. Of course, this is easier said than done, but the goal is to achieve that moment. This is not to say that this novel is going to do that. Like I said, it's hard to accomplish, and we can have a vision or a goal. You can dream of having a winning season if you're, in sports, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get there. So, just a caveat there. I'm at the point in week 6 where I've written a good 25,000 words or so, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing or why. I have a lot of threads. I have an entire garment filled with threads, all these threads hanging, dangling, waiting for me to write them through and to connect the threads into some kind of meaningful road or avenue to a conclusion or climax. Right now, I'm not sure which threads are the most meaningful or useful to me or to my characters. This is a problem that I hope to chip away at this week as I start to connect the dots between what I wrote in week 1 and what I wrote in week 5. And this might mean that rather than writing this week, just more and more and more output, what I'm going to be doing is writing less and gluing together some of these parts, asking myself, well, who is this character from week 4 or from day 21 of writing? Are they meaningful? Are they useful? Are they furthering the plot? Or are they helping to develop our central character of Ratface? Or are they somebody who should be cut? Sometimes you have 2 or 3 characters in a first draft doing the same job. Maybe I need to combine these characters into one complicated side character that helps to move things forward. The key is for me to begin to see the patterns and to begin to merge like patterns together into some kind of cohesive whole. I can keep writing and I can keep adding scenes, but I'm just guessing. So at this point, maybe taking a step back and going, what do I have? Where should I move forward from here is a good move to make. I'm wearing a blindfold and writing scenes, hoping or feeling that they might be of use as I propel this narrative forward. But as I said in week 1, I won't know what the narrative is or what the true story is until I write. And what I write in week 3 versus what I write in week 6 is going to take on a different shape or intonation. What I write in week 6 changes what I write in week 3, for example. So what I thought I had in week 3 all of a sudden takes on a new presence, a new quality that I might not have noticed before. And this might force me to have to alter what I've written in week 3 or to see it in a new light and take it in a new direction. Again, this is a product of the writing process. I won't know it until what's written has been written. And that's the tricky part. And that's why we do the first drafts, and that's why I don't put too much pressure on myself to figure all of my shit out in the first draft. So now that I've written 5 weeks of material, it is imperative that I go back to my early stuff and ask myself, does this stuff line up with the stuff I've written last week? It might not. I'm beginning to feel that urge to revisit and edit to ensure that I know where I'm going next. I've alluded to this, that I need to take a step back from the writing and to begin reflecting. The problem is, too much of that, and all of a sudden your writing ceases to a halt, and it might get difficult to start again. Because right now my headlights are on and I see the road ahead, but I'm not sure if I'm on the right road. If I get off the road, the fear for me is that I don't get back on again, that I get distracted by life. I can keep writing on the road I'm on. If I find that the stuff I've decided is important today is not actually important upon the reading of weeks 1 and 2, then I am wasting time and energy. I don't want to go needlessly in a direction when maybe 10 or 20 or even a half hour worth of my time could prevent that, could steer me straight, so to speak. That said, even if I choose to radically revise key pieces of the text, the stuff I write today, or this week or next week, even if it doesn't line up perfectly with stuff I've said in week 1 or week 2, can still be of use because I can revise it to fit wherever it needs to go. It also helps me to see what kind of story I want to tell. What feels good when I read it? This is important. If I write a well-plotted 4 weeks worth of Ratface, and then on week 5 I have him in a scene where I finally begin to understand him, which is sort of what happened last week in week 5. This scene or this moment or this recognition of who my character is going to be very important. It's going to shape all future writing, but it's also going to color what I've written in the past. It's going to make everything take on new meaning, and that's incredibly important to me. The danger with week 6 deciding that I want to revisit the whole story is that so much of writing habit is about inertia. And this is back to my point about stopping now and doing a deep reread and revision. So much of our generation is about inertia, because I know what happens if I stop writing. In all likelihood, I get distracted by 15 other job things I have to do, and this work will seep in and take up all of my time. I am holding then a strong boundary around my writing time. I'm protecting it. I'm telling myself I have to write every day. I have to hit my targets. I have a podcast to make. I have an end goal of November 15th to hit 50,000 words. This stuff is what's guiding me and what's keeping me moving. My writing inertia is directly related to keeping this boundary. If I collapse the balloon, if I collapse the boundary in the spirit of revision, it's going to be very hard for me to reinflate this semester. Other things will take the space of my writing time. They will fill in that void very quickly. They're waiting, they're watching, they're hoping these other tasks that I'm putting off. They're saying, I hope that he drops the ball on his writing so that he can come in and finish me. But I'm resisting. I'm saying, fellas, not today. Not today. Today I write. Okay? All this to say that while I have the urge to stop writing and reread everything I've written and take notes on it and revise and do all the things I'm going to be doing next year, this is precisely what I should not be doing right now. Not until I hit 50,000 words. Maybe I can take an hour, though, to skim, if I have an hour, and make adjustments to remember some of the key plot lines or characters. I've written a lot of plot lines. I've created a lot of characters. One day I create a character, put them in a scene, and go, wow, they're going to be useful. And then I forget about them. And I'm, 2 weeks later, I've written 7 more characters into the story. I forgot about character 1. And maybe I should remember them, or maybe remembering them will help me in week 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's something I need to think about. Take an hour, do some skimming. I think I'll do that because I've manufactured a lot of ideas and I haven't had time to really sit and think about what those ideas are. That's where the process of NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, has really helped me. Get that editor out, maybe do a light skim, but don't let that editor in to take over. Don't let that editor in and start meddling with your generative process. Save the editor for later on because it's an entirely different set of work. It's a different line of work, editing. And while I like to edit sentence by sentence and clean up key ideas here and there, mopping up the floor, so to speak, I don't like to totally redecorate the house while I'm writing, because that leads to the problems I've mentioned. So in week 6, these are the struggles that I am attempting to juggle, and I will let you know how it goes. Around halfway through week 6, I wrote this. It is halfway through week 6, and I am tired. The thing about writing is that one's life does not stop. You don't write in a bubble, and you don't write in a vacuum. You write in a real, living world full of complication. I am still writing every day, but the feeling I have today is that I don't want to write. The last thing on my mind is composing a story about a fictional character in a fictional world. I am at the doctor's office awaiting my appointment. Is there something wrong with my healing heart? Probably not. Maybe I just have the flu or a cold. Or maybe I am tired because I've been running at 100% for the past several weeks, even though I am recovering from heart surgery. Or maybe I'm tired because of personal stuff that's crept into my life. Or maybe I'm tired because Gaza's being bombed to oblivion and I'm bearing witness to it through social media, and there's nothing that I can do to help. Still, Ratface whispers to me. Here's the thing about writing a character that you are trying to understand as a human being. Your own life and your own life struggles blur into the knowledge you have of your central character. Not that this always happens. Sometimes writers create much distance between themselves and the characters that they are writing. But if you try to understand a character deeply, their goals and aspirations, their dreams, and try to humanize them fully, the best place to draw those experiences from is your own life. The reasons for this are obvious. And I do that, and I am doing it now, as I sit in the doctor's office, waiting for a diagnosis. How do I incorporate my own anxieties and fears into the mind of Ratface? How do I make him feel like a complex human being who doesn't only present a surface level or stereotyped personality to the world? How do I show him depressed or scared or angry or irrational or contradictory, or his other traits, his more positive traits, headstrong, loyal, loving? How do I incorporate these threads into his dynamic character in this story in a way that helps us to understand him and maybe to root for him, or at least just to know him as a human in all his hypocrisy and complexity? Last week I gave Ratface an opportunity to explore his ideas of love and affection for other human beings. It was awesome for me as a writer because it was new terrain and it made sense for Ratface. It's like I unlocked an essential puzzle piece to the character. He is full of love. He has the potentiality for love, but he has been hurt so many times and made to reject these feelings because of the pain that he has evaded sensations of love and connection for decades. How does he return to these feelings? How do we show that he has them? How do we help prompt him to express these feelings in a way that makes sense to the character and to the situations in the story? These are the things that I am struggling with this week. These are the challenges before me, and it's been fun and pleasurable to engage with a character and with this difficult middle part of the story. It's been a pleasure, but also a challenge. It's a headache, but knowing that the headache is inevitable, that the middle bloat and the complexities of characters and maybe their lack in the middle, that these are the challenges that face us as writers, that we know that they're coming. We just got to accept them as inevitable and prepare to be sort of stymied in the middle of our longer stories. How do we work our way through that? Turn on the headlights and go. Consider all the threads. Write out several different threads. Get to know our character a little better. If the plot stalls, if our character stalls, perhaps it's because we don't know them enough. Sit with them, ask them questions, interrogate them. Revisit some of the things that you've written and see if there's something that you've missed, something that needs to be burnished and brought back to the front, something that can remind us of an idea we had that we lost because we're so far beyond that already. We're moving forward at such a pace that sometimes we have to go, wait a second, 20 miles back there was a fork in the road. Maybe I took the wrong fork, and that's okay. Take the other fork. Drive it for 10 miles and see where it gets you. Maybe it'll get you someplace that you want to be. Maybe you don't like it. Well, back up. Go back down the original fork. Or maybe you need to go off-road and take a different track. That's a possibility as well. This week I'm going to leave you with a piece of the story that I wrote focused on Ratface. I'm not sure if it's actually story or if it's me meditating on the character of Ratface or both. sometimes my actual story writing and my expository reflection on the character, sometimes they're one and the same. Sometimes I start writing almost in an essay-like form or in an expository narrative form, exploring my characters, and that becomes, exposition in the story, and it leads to dialogue, etc. This is one of those cases where things get fused together, and for me that's fine. I don't mind the ambiguity. I think sometimes it's hard to start writing on a given day. If I say start writing dialogue, I balk, I resist. I get what people call writer's block. But writer's block isn't so much, for me it's not a real thing, it's that I'm approaching the writing from the wrong angle. So here's me thinking about Ratface, writing about Ratface, and how that evolves in 600 words into actual story. So on Thursday, October 19th, this is what I did write. Ratface has a lot of threads unraveling in his synthetic sweater. He recognizes the imperative of finding the kid before the kid gets in trouble or dies. How would he feel if the kid died before he had a chance to help her? He'd feel pretty lousy. There's part of him that wants to step away from it, to wipe his hands, to go. This isn't my problem. He didn't make this problem. He didn't invite the kid into his life. This was Lex's doing. Once again, Lex fucks up by putting someone in an impossible position. It was Lex that brought this kid into his life, and consequently dropped the kid into Ratface's lap. Because why? Because of imminent and unexpected death. Ratface can't fault Lex for his own death. What the fuck's wrong with him? But the kid, he didn't choose the kid. But is that accurate? If he really wanted to walk away from the kid, he could have. That night. The night he found her. He could have said, "Hey kid, I'll catch you later," and left. Who was to stop him? He knows how to disappear. He could have plumb disappeared and the kid would have never seen him again. But he stayed. And by staying, he accepted a certain amount of responsibility. Didn't he? Maybe if the kid was 25 years old, he wouldn't have to feel responsible for her. But the kid's 10. There's a certain acceptance of responsibility if you decide to stick around when a 10-year-old is left alone. I don't know, Ratface. I don't think you owe that kid nothing. You hung out with them for a week. You've got them on their feet, and they got taken. You didn't sign a contract. You didn't make the kid your legal responsibility. Ratface thinks, but what about the responsibility of the heart? What responsibility does he hold there? What part of this story is he failing to see? The part where if he's going to be the good guy, he has to do the good thing. What is the good thing? Take care of the child. Keep them from danger. They don't know enough to know how to protect themselves. And it's no small part of his responsibility, given his relation to Lex, fucker that he was, that this kid got to talking, and the least Ratface could do was give two shits for them now that they're gone. I don't know, Ratface says. I think I owe them something. At least I should look into where they might be. Where do you think they are? I think whoever killed Lex probably took the kid. Why would they do that? I don't know. I think the kid has special powers. Special powers? What are they, magic? Like a forest nymph or something? Do you know there's no such thing as nymphs? I don't know much of anything. Everything is true. Everything is false. We live in a permanent goo of lies. I have no idea what the truth is anymore. Ratface nods. There's some truth to that. It's hard to make sense of anything. There's no objective anything. It's all opinions and deceptions and slander. And even the things we know to be true get tossed into question because of AI and genetic manipulation and vast mirages and lack of education and all the other things that have happened over the past 50 to 100 years. I think something happened to her, though, or I think something was done to her in a lab to make her different. Or maybe she's a hologram, he says. But I held her. I carried her. She was real. Can holograms have substance? The friend asks. I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe something else is going on. Who would want a child like that? Have you talked to Lex's people, his confidants? No, Ratface says, but I should. I'm not sure who his confidants are anymore. Well, maybe that's something you need to find out. Yeah, Ratface says. Maybe so. Alright, that's this week for writing Ratface. Next week we're going to still be in the middle, but I think I might begin to see some lights, some avenues that I might tread going forward that will help bring the story closer and closer to Act 3. Have a good week. Until next time, see ya.